Imagine a country rich in natural resources, with the largest oil reserves in the world, even surpassing the vast reserves of Saudi Arabia, but suddenly finds itself plunged into a devastating economic and humanitarian crisis. This is the current scenario in Venezuela, where Nicolás Maduro's dictatorship has transformed what was once one of Latin America's most prosperous economies into a nightmare of scarcity, repression, and despair. Venezuela is located on the northern coast of South America, bordered by Colombia to the west, Brazil to the south, and Guyana to the east. The country has a population of approximately 28 million people, with Caracas as its capital and largest city. Venezuela is renowned for its vast oil reserves and is a founding member of the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC. Additionally, the country's economy heavily relies on oil exports. Geopolitically, Venezuela has significant partners and rivals. Its allies include countries such as Cuba, Russia, and China, which have provided economic and political support to Nicolás Maduro's regime. In contrast, Venezuela maintains tense relations with the United States, which has led the imposition of economic sanctions against the Venezuelan government and supported the opposition led by Maria Corina Machado, who won the opposition primaries in 2023. However, Machado was barred from running in the 2024 presidential elections by a government decision citing administrative irregularities and her support for US sanctions, a move widely criticized by the international community. Currently, Venezuela is facing one of the worst economic crises in modern history. Hyperinflation has soared to astronomical levels, rendering money almost worthless. Basic goods such as food and medicine are scarce and millions of people are starving. The healthcare system has collapsed, with hospitals lacking basic supplies and outbreaks of previously controlled diseases such as malaria and diphtheria. Additionally, violence and crime have increased, making daily life a constant challenge for citizens. The humanitarian situation is alarming. According to the United Nations, more than 5 million Venezuelans have fled the country since 2015, creating a migration crisis in neighbouring countries. Those who remain face a reality of lack of access to essential services and a growing sense of despair. The economic crisis is exacerbated by corruption and poor governance, while international sanctions, although aimed at pressuring the government, have side effects on the general population. The international community continues to seek solutions, but the complexity of the crisis makes it difficult to find a quick and effective resolution. When Hugo Chavez passed away in 2013, Nicolás Maduro, his vice president, assumed power, promising to continue Chávez's socialist legacy. However, the reality turned out to be quite different. Maduro inherited an already struggling economy, but his economic policies and poor management only worsened the situation. Under his administration, oil production, the country's main source of revenue, plummeted due to corruption and lack of investment. Uncontrolled inflation and rampant corruption led to an unprecedented economic crisis, transforming Venezuela into one of the poorest countries in the region. Maduro consolidated his power through authoritarian measures. In 2017, he convened a constituent assembly, bypassing the opposition-controlled National Assembly to rewrite the constitution and expand his powers. This move was widely condemned internationally as a blow to democracy. Repression against political opponents became common practice, with arbitrary detentions, torture, and forced disappearances reported by human rights organizations. Furthermore, Maduro has used the armed forces to maintain his regime. He secured the loyalty of the military through economic privileges and positions of power, ensuring that any attempt at rebellion was swiftly suppressed. The internal opposition, though vibrant, faces immense challenges in organising protests or running in elections due to fear of reprisals and constant government surveillance. The problems in Venezuela are numerous and profound. The economy is in ruins, with inflation reaching 1 million % in 2018. Corruption is widespread, with state resources being diverted to enrich the ruling elite while the population suffers. The scarcity of food and medicine is a daily problem, with many Venezuelans resorting to the black market to survive. Additionally, violence and insecurity are rampant, with gangs and militias controlling vast areas of the country. The healthcare sector is in collapse. Hospitals lack basic equipment, essential medicines, and healthcare professionals. Diseases that were once controlled, such as malaria, have resurged with full force, and outbreaks of diphtheria and measles are becoming increasingly common. Child malnutrition is also a severe issue, with many children suffering from chronic hunger due to food shortages. The country's infrastructure is also decaying. Frequent failures in electricity and potable water supply are common, exacerbating the difficulties faced by the population. The economic crisis has forced many businesses to close, resulting in high levels of unemployment and poverty. The government's attempts to control the economy, including price fixing and the nationalisation of industries, have only worsened the situation. Mass emigration is a visible symptom of the crisis. Millions of Venezuelans have fled the country, creating a refugee crisis in neighbouring countries such as Colombia, Brazil and Peru. These countries are struggling to cope with the influx of migrants, which is overwhelming their health, education and social services systems. The Venezuelan diaspora continues to grow, with people seeking safety and opportunities wherever they can find them. The territorial dispute between Venezuela and Guyana over the Essequibo region has deep historical roots. This region, rich in natural resources including oil, is claimed by Venezuela but administered by Guyana. Tensions significantly increased after the discovery of large oil reserves in the area, which could potentially boost Guyana's wealth and weaken Venezuela's position. Maduro has used this territorial dispute as a tool to divert attention from internal problems. The nationalist and bellicose rhetoric is an attempt to unify the population against an external enemy and strengthen support for his government. However, this risky strategy could lead to a military escalation that would be disastrous for both countries and regional stability. Diplomatic relations between Venezuela and Guyana are tense, and the international community has been pressing for a peaceful resolution. The United Nations and other international bodies have attempted to mediate the conflict, but the situation remains volatile. Resolving this dispute is crucial not only for the two countries involved, but also for the stability and security of South America as a whole. Did you know that the crisis in Venezuela was this alarming? Do you think Nicolás Maduro is a good president? Share your opinion in the comments below. Your thoughts are highly valued here on our channel. Under Maduro's regime, political censorship has become a common tool for suppressing dissent. Television and radio stations critical of the government have been shut down, and independent journalists face constant threats of violence and imprisonment. Internet access is frequently blocked during protests and significant political events, restricting the population's ability to communicate and organise. Electoral fraud is also a constant concern. Elections in Venezuela have been marred by accusations of vote manipulation, voter intimidation, and the use of state resources to favour government candidates. International observers are often denied access or prevented from adequately monitoring the electoral process. With upcoming elections, there is widespread skepticism about their potential to be free and fair. Expectations for the next elections are bleak, both nationally and internationally. Many Venezuelans distrust the electoral process and fear their voices will not be heard. The international community continues to press for electoral reforms and independent monitoring, but Maduro's government shows little willingness to relinquish control. The hope of many is that external pressure combined with a strong internal movement can eventually lead to significant changes. The crisis in Venezuela has had a significant impact on the region and the world. Millions of Venezuelans have fled the country, creating a refugee crisis in neighbouring countries. Colombia, Brazil and Peru, among others, are struggling to cope with the influx of migrants, which is overwhelming their health, education and social services systems. Additionally, the presence of Venezuelan refugees has caused social and political tensions in these countries, which are trying to balance humanitarian aid with the needs of their own populations. Internationally, the Venezuelan crisis has significant geopolitical implications. The United States, the European Union, and many Latin American countries do not recognize Maduro's legitimacy and support the opposition leader Maria Corina Machado, previously Juan Guaido. On the other hand, Maduro's allies, such as Russia and China, continue to offer political and economic support. This international division makes resolving the crisis even more complex, with each side seeking to advance its own geopolitical interests in the region. For Venezuela to improve its situation, Significant changes in leadership and government policies are essential. Deep economic reforms are necessary to stabilize the economy and restore investor confidence. This includes liberalizing the market, reducing state intervention, and combating the endemic corruption that has eroded the country's institutions. Additionally, it is crucial to ensure that natural resources, such as oil, are managed efficiently and transparently, allowing the wealth generated to benefit the population as a whole. Besides economic reforms, the restoration of democracy is fundamental. Free and fair elections must be conducted under international supervision to ensure the transparency and legitimacy of the process. The international community should continue to press for changes while offering humanitarian aid to alleviate the immediate suffering of the population. Assistance programs aimed at improving public health, education and food security are vital for rebuilding Venezuelan society and creating a stable and prosperous environment for the future. The situation in Venezuela is a modern tragedy that illustrates the dangers of an authoritarian and poorly managed government. The economic crisis, political repression, and humanitarian catastrophe are a painful reminder of how poor governance can destroy a country rich in resources and potential. However, with the right pressure and a willingness to change, there is still hope that Venezuela can recover and rebuild into a prosperous and democratic nation. For this to happen, a combination of internal and external efforts is necessary. The Venezuelan population must continue to fight for their rights and democracy, while the international community should support these efforts through targeted sanctions and humanitarian aid. Only through a joint effort will it be possible to overcome the challenges and build a better future for all Venezuelans. How about you? What do you think about this issue? Do you believe Venezuela has a chance for recovery? Share your opinion in the comments below. Also, let us know what other topics you would like to see covered on this channel. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to the What is Happening channel. Thank you for watching until the end. See you in the next video.